the focus for the men is how to love a black woman. And so we're gonna balance that thing out. September for the men, October for the women. So all right, y'all. Let me go ahead and get into it. So tonight's topic, y'all. Tonight's topic, we are looking at 5 reasons why men cry in the dark. Y'all already expressed that. Like a number of people have difficulty, in their relationship when it comes to connecting in with their man and have a hard time really seeing emotion from him. And what I said a moment ago is that, when it comes to this piece, like it's a problem that I see the emotion, but you don't. But one of the reasons why is because I managed to be able to cultivate a safe space for the fellas to share what they got going on, and so I challenge and encourage women to do the same. One of the reasons why men cry in the dark and don't necessarily expose their emotions to their partner is because there's a certain level of embarrassment. Men feel embarrassed. And one of the reasons why men feel embarrassed is because they think that, I should have it all together by now. I should have it all together by now. And my life should look different. The way that I show up for my family, the way that I've provided for my family. When I take a look at our house and what we got going on, when I take a look at our vehicles and what we got going on, when I take a look at our 401k, when I take a look at all aspects of retirement, when I take a look at just the way in which my children interface with me, when I take a look at quality time, that I'm spending with my spouse, there's an underlying feeling that sometimes brothers be feeling like they're failing. They're failing financially. Brothers feel like they're failing emotionally, or even as a provider. And so there's this pressure that men experience, and as a result, there's an overwhelming way in which they move, in which they're focused on like performance. They're driven by performance-based, outcomes rather than being present in the process. And so there's a certain level of embarrassment, as I mentioned a moment ago, that men feel because they ain't got it together. And so they're quietly, silently in their corner crying, just feeling bad. And sometimes what this looks like in relationships, like you may think that the beef is with you, but sometimes what it is that, again, there's a certain underlying level of embarrassment that they're experiencing because they feel like they should be in a different place. It's a very real thing. And so they start to shut down instead of like opening up and expressing their thoughts and feelings. They avoid sometimes very difficult, challenging conversations about finances, about I need to get some water, fatherhood, about sex, intimacy, about connecting in and quality time. And then have y'all ever had the experience where, type of one in the chat, if you've asked your man what's wrong and he became defensive? He like, ain't nothing wrong. I mean, I'm good. Why you ask that? He's shutting you out and he's becoming defensive. And again, a part of it is based off of the fact that like everything else around me is chaotic. I don't feel like I got it together. And so as a result, like, I'm taking that out on the people that I'm supposed to be showing the most love. But I'm really grappling with embarrassment. And so again, I challenge you, if you find yourself in this space in your relationship, like ask your man what's weighing on him. What's weighing on him that he does not feel safe saying out loud? And then a challenge for you is to affirm that his worth is about more than just provision. It's about more than just performance. Affirm that. Affirm that you like value his presence. I know some of y'all got a hard time with that just based off of the fact that like you might even be beefing with your man right now. But I want you to look at it through the lens of his distance and his disconnect don't got nothing to do with you in some instances. It's got everything to do with where he is not in his life. He's embarrassed. Another reason why men cry in the dark is because of shame. It's because of shame. Like I can't tell y'all how many times, um, I've heard men share some stuff that yeah, it's. I had a brother share with me once, um, about a situation in which um, he was involved with a minor. And he was prosecuted, did some time and stuff like that, as a result of it. Um, but this is something that he hadn't necessarily disclosed to the person that he was in relationship with. It was a weird dynamic. So for those IG folks, I'm a trained therapist, relationship coach. For those that don't know, co-founder of Black Love and Marriage. So my wife and I, we do this work all the time. So it was an interesting dynamic, and so he was dealing with a bunch of shame, because he had this indelible stain that he felt was on his life. And of course, everybody locked up is innocent, right? That's what everybody said. And it was messy. It was messy, and he was expressing that it wasn't was what it appeared to be. But even with that being said, the underlying fear, the shame. So shame doesn't just have to be applicable to a situation like what I just lifted up. It could be shame in any number of areas where there was an expectation that was present and he came up short. He came up short, or he did something wrong, or he hurt you and he feels shame. And so sometimes men are thinking that if you know the real me, if you really knew me, then you'd leave. If you really knew who I was, then you would leave me. And it's hard for them to differentiate, or at least shame leads you to a place where you believe that you're bad versus that you did something bad. There's a difference. And so many men carry shame from childhood wounds, like mistakes that they've made in the past, failed relationships, like addictions, and any number of things, infidelity, unmet expectations. And so as a result, like, again, men are walking around with this pain, with this shame, and as a result, not really showing themselves to you. They withdraw emotionally. They sometimes they actually attempt to overcompensate by throwing themselves into situations in which they're heavily involved in working. They may even try to be over pleasing. I mean, just over saturate you with with love bombing. Sometimes they avoid emotional, even spiritual intimacy. This is what it looks like within the context of a relationship. And I think that yeah, Gwen, never being loved by their mothers. Man, if I was to tell y'all the stories that brothers tell me about that mother wound, y'all would like want to wrap your arms around your man. Y'all really would. This thing is real, y'all. It ain't no joke. It ain't no joke. And ladies, if you have sons, wrap your arms around them. Tell them you love them. Be present, not only present with him, but give him the gift of your presence. He needs that. Like men are out here hurting, and as a result, they end up hurting other folks in in the relationships that they're in. They end up hurting the child, and then they end up hurting the spouse because they're hurting. It's not an excuse, but depending upon what they experience, like a lot of men are walking around with like shame. How do you respect women? How do you respect your wife? Just how do you respect women when you watched your mom give fellatio? These are real life situations, y'all, that I'm encountering and their brothers are sharing. Like, is how do you navigate a relationship with women if that's what your experience was with the woman that you first love? You feel ashamed of your mom, and you feel a sense of shame. I don't know what it means to be loved by a woman. My mom sucked dick. Like, what do you do with that? What do you do? And it wasn't your father. What do you do with that? And so, like, that for some people that's an extreme, and what you may think is an extreme, for some folks, that was their everyday experience. That was their everyday experience. I mean, I work with men who were offered up by their mom to other men. That's their lived experience. And so you walk around with the shame of what you were forced to do as a child. It's not because of you, it's because of what your parent or parents forced you to do, but you're still wearing this badge of shame. You walking around wounded. It's the walking wounded. And how do you be in a relationship like that? So as a man, you don't need to know that. You don't need to know that. So if I cry, I'm going to cry in the dark because I feel shame based off of what I've done. And so I find myself being taken advantage of. And as a result, like I end up taking advantage of other people, of other women, of other men. I become manipulative. I become domineering. I become uber aggressive. That's the experience, y'all. And again, we want to make sure that we're being mindful um, that we hold space. We hold space for the men that are in our lives. As I mentioned a moment ago, I'm coming up on number 3, y'all. I'm kicking off this King Me Intensive September the 1st. September the 1st. I wanted to do it August the 11th, but the book that I'm going to have the fellas reading as we journey along this process is it's not going to come in time. It's an oldie but goodie. An oldie but goodie. And so we're going to be focused on loving a black woman. And then October the 1st, doing something I ain't done before, a 21-day intensive for women on how to love a black man. I got some early bird spots that I'm gonna be opening it up at midnight tonight. So ladies, make sure you get in the room, get your spot for that intensive. All right, number 3, y'all. Men grapple with guilt. They grapple with guilt. Can I forgive myself for the wrong things that I've done to you? Sometimes men they repeat they feel like a failure. They identify themselves as a failure because they're constantly repeating their failures in their mind. Constantly repeating it. I I had a brother say to me that he wants to leave the relationship um, because he's tired or he's getting tired of hurting the woman that he says that he loves. And so he doesn't believe that he has the capacity to actually walk a straight line. He's carrying guilt. He hadn't forgiven himself. Yeah, therapy is crucial. He hadn't forgiven himself. And so he's replaying his failures. He's moving and existing in a way in which almost like that's what's been destined for him to mess up, for him to come up short. And so what happens is that you see this in relationships all the time. Type of 1 in the chat if you've been in a relationship with somebody who has apologized without changing. Type of 1 in the chat. They apologize, but they don't change. Or you'll notice that you're in a relationship with somebody who overworks to make up for the emotional distance. They overwork. And so I can't meet the need here. And so I'm going to meet it elsewhere by overworking. I'm trying to make up the emotional distance by spending my time elsewhere. So I'm getting to the bag, but I'm not connecting in with you. Some men feel like they're unworthy of second chances. They feel like they're unworthy of love. This is how it manifests in relationships. Gwen said, ooh, both. Yeah, this is how it manifests in relationships. And so again, you want to be mindful and aware, um, of this piece right here. Just men who are grappling with guilt, the guilt of the possibility of letting you down, and whether or not they can forgive themselves. Some men are stuck. They're stuck. And so you want to be mindful of that. The fourth thing, y'all, is fear. Fear. What if I'm not enough? What if I do all of this and nothing changes? What if I don't change? What if I can't change? What if I don't measure up? What if you replace me? What if you choose others? Some of y'all got loose lips and be like, I can go get another mofo. I can go get another ninja. Some of y'all are like that. That ain't safe. That's not healthy. It's not helpful. It's very rejecting, dismissive, demeaning, and detrimental to the relationship. Brothers, be afraid, y'all. And the interesting piece is that sometimes fear it shows up as anger. It shows up as control. Sometimes brothers who are afraid are trying to find ways to dominate in their life. They're trying to find ways to compensate for the feelings of worthlessness that they feel. And so they overpower. They become uber aggressive. They become domineering. And sometimes within the context of a relationships, like this may look like jealousy. It may look like possessiveness. It may look like there's difficulty in doing things long term. So trust in the process. They got a hard time with that. Or the flip side is that, because of the fear, it leads them to a place of being perfectionists. They overfunction. Some of y'all are guilty of that piece right there, where because of your fear, you become hyper vigilant, you become fixated, you become focused, you become OCD, like almost OCD, but you're like obsessed about making sure things are lined up. You want things to be perfect. Take the perfect picture. Make sure everything is lined up to a T. And so again, in a situation like this, you want to reassure your man that the love is not performance based. It's not based off of his performance. It's his presence. Sometimes we as men need to know that it's okay for us to not have all the answers. It's okay. And when we feel like it's not okay, that's when we go into our shell. We want to perpetrate and make it appear that we do got it all together, but the reality is that a lot of times we don't. I've actually heard women say, like, I'm gonna go ahead and let him play around over there and fumble and bump his head into the wall. And then when he's ready, he'll come back to me and ask me for the answer that I was already trying to give him in the first place to help him avoid some of the stuff he's going through. That's real. Happy Friday to you too, sis. Number 5, loneliness. Loneliness. You know what? Before I go to this loneliness piece, I want to talk about a real life situation where sometimes men cry in the dark because they don't know I don't know what's wrong with me. I just don't know. I want to do right, but I keep doing wrong. I got the answers and I got the support, but I keep coming up short. I've read the books and I've taken the class on emotional regulation, anger management, effective communication, but I still be popping off. I still be explosive when it comes to my woman. And I keep on messing up. And so when men feel this desire to be better, and they even understand that they have the tools to accomplish it, but yet because of that, these habitual patterns of behavior, they find themselves being stuck, almost like they're in a system of emotional automation. They feel like their intentions are hijacked by their hurt, and so they feel helpless. Men cry in the dark because they feel helpless. I had a conversation with a sister earlier today where, um, she was talking about leaving her man, and she's been with him through thick and thin, through everything, through everything. The possibility of jail time and just foolishness on his part. Um, but I've had extensive conversations with him, and I would even go as far as to say, "Yeah, good brother. Like I really like him." Some people you just like, but they just keep on bumping into themselves. But the thing that he has not done is get the, I believe, pharmacological support that he needs to quiet, to stabilize himself. Because he be popping off. He be good one moment and then popping off the next. Like good brother. Like some of y'all know men like that. Some of y'all know dudes like that no matter how many conversations you have, um, conversations ain't enough. They're not enough. Um, um, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, ain't enough. It's just not enough. They need pharmacological support, psychotropic support to get stabilized. And until that's done, they're gonna find themselves in a situation where they're having this internal battle. They're at war with themselves. And so from the outside looking in, it's like, why you keep fucking up? But from the inside, the feeling is, I'm helpless. I can't control this. I can't control it. So yeah, so men cry in the dark because they in some situations can't, they feel stuck. They feel helpless. The last one I want to lift up, y'all. This is number 6. I say it five reasons why men cry in the dark, but number 6 is loneliness. Loneliness. I I put something inside of my King Me group earlier this week, and what was it in reference to? Oh, this happened last night, y'all. So I went out to to dinner. Um, my daughter said, "Are you having a you date? You having a me date?" Yeah, so I guess I had a me date. My wife, they in Atlanta. My wife and youngest son, they're in Atlanta, getting situated. First day of school is on Monday, and so I'm still in Cali right now, about to be heading there in about a week or so. So I went with them to get them situated, flew back. Nevertheless, last night I went out to eat by myself. And so I'm sitting at the table, and ironically, my daughters and I, we had a conversation about this probably about a week ago. But as I'm sitting at the table, there's a younger woman and an older gentleman, I would say probably in his mid 60s, sitting to my right. So I'm sitting there having my pasta dish and drinking my Cadillac margarita, and I'm listening to the conversation, y'all. And this lady, it was a white woman, and again, she was younger, but she was yapping. I mean, she was bumping her gums like endlessly. She was just straight yapping, and so I'm listening, and she's going from one subject to the other, talking about herbs, talking about colors, talking about iPhones, talking about this, and it's like an endless stream of words. And I'm just sitting there listening, and the guy's response is like he's giving like one word response, it's like, okay, I see what you're saying, and then saying, mm-hmm. It's like it's not for real engagement. And then at one point she says, I showed this to my father, and then she shares her phone, and then the guy laughs and that type of thing. So I was thinking to myself, like, yo, I think this is an escort type situation going on. I think it's a situation in which this brother, this he wasn't a brother, but this dude is paying for companionship. And so I put inside of my King Me group this whole experience about this dude paying for companionship, paying for attention, paying for conversation, paying to have somebody in their presence and give him like the time of day. And I said that we got whole wives. We got wives that we're in relationship with, and you got somebody that's paying for companionship, but we're not taking advantage of what it is that we got. We ain't taking advantage of it. We got a woman that wants to talk to us, that wants to engage with us, that wants to listen to us in many instances, that wants to hear us, that wants to feel us and be supportive of us, but we not we not taking advantage of it. But here I'm sitting next to this man and this woman, and it appears that he's paid for her companionship. And with that being said, like this loneliness piece, which I do understand is real. It's a very real thing. And so men sometimes feel like, don't nobody see me. Nobody sees me for real. Nobody sees me for real. I had a session with a brother, and this brother that's doing the damn thing. I mean, I'm really proud of his accomplishments um, as it relates to business related stuff. I'm really proud of him. Handling his business, doing his thing, on top of the world. Really good dude. Um, but what he shared to me, or what he shared with me, is um, that he's depressed, and despite what other people see, the external facade, the loquaciousness that he presents with, and the effervescence and just his energy, and you know his exuberance, apparent exuberance for life, like that's what people see. But he said, I'm depressed, and he actually said, I've actually had thoughts of taking my life. This is a real, y'all. This is a real situation. And so again, I go through I mean, as a trained therapist, I go through my questions and all of that type of stuff. But I'm lifting this up because what he's saying is that I'm showing the world one thing, but they don't really see me for real. They don't really see me. They see the talking, the laughter, the joking, they see all of that, but they don't really see me for real. And that hit home. That hit home, and it's heavy, um, because a friend of mine took his life last year, and so it's a very real thing. And so men cry in the dark because they feel lonely and that nobody sees them. But there's this fear that they grapple with of, again, will you like what you see if I really show you me? Will you like it? And so even if they're in a relationship, even if they're with you, they're married to you, they're showing up. The brother that took his life last year, good dude, loving wife, but still feeling alone, still feeling stuck, still feeling, and I do think that medicine did play a part in that. Um, I definitely think that based off of some things that I became aware of. And so yeah, so you got to be mindful. You got to be mindful. But what this ends up looking like in a relationship, if he feels lonely, then there's going to be a lack in emotional intimacy. There may be some battles with anxiety and depression. There may be situations in which, like, again, um he's engaged in emotional numbing. Gwen, great questions. How was his relationship with his mother? How was his relationship with his father? Um, he had a challenging upbringing, and you know, he was stretched and stressed, but you know, consequently, he ended up pouring back into his children in a way in which I like admired him as a father. And so we see that often where, depending upon, you know, what your upbringing may have been, if your parents weren't there, then you make the decision that I'm gonna make sure I'm uber there. You know, when it comes to being in my children's life. But he was stretched and he was stressed. And again, consequently, like, you know, as loving as his wife was, and yeah, he just decided it was time. It was time. And so it's unfortunate. Unfortunate. And yeah, now they have no father. Painful. Painful, painful, painful. Um, and so yeah, so these were our six things that I shared, y'all. Six things that, or six reasons why men cry in the dark. YouTube, hopefully y'all got some value. IG, hopefully you got some value. As I mentioned a moment ago, I'm kicking off the King Me Intensive September the 1st. So if you're a brother that's watching this and you want some support, we're gonna be focused on how to love your woman better. I mean, in the past, it's been more general about, you know, becoming a better husband, father, and just man overall. But this right here is specifically about how to love your woman better. We got a book that we're going to be reading over the course of these 21 days. You're going to have an accountability chart where you'll be tracking and, you know, the things that you're doing over the course of these 21 days. We got strength squads, so you'll be in smaller clusters with other brothers that you can connect in with. To support you on your journey, and it's real, y'all. We're gonna expand our emotional vocabulary. This joint is dope. It's dope. The test I got, I don't know how many testimonies based off of people going through the experience. And so if you're a dude and you're on IG, comment level up, and I'll shoot you a message. I got to change the dates. It was supposed to start August the 11th, but y'all not gonna get the book in time. And so you know, it's gonna start September the 1st. Ladies, for the first time, I'm gonna call it a Queen Me Intensive. This is very new, but I'm gonna call it a Queen Me Intensive. Um, and it's gonna start October the 1st. I got early bird pricing that's kicking off tonight at midnight. It's gonna be $97 for the early bird, but it's only gonna be 20 spots for that. 20 spots for that tonight at midnight. So yeah, you want to make sure you get on board. I'm gonna be sending an email if you want to email this. I'm gonna send the email out right after this, and then I'm gonna drop one again at midnight for y'all to hop on board. So any questions? Any questions, Blamley? Stay on for just a few minutes with y'all. I think I got the house to myself right now. I'm happy about that. So I'm gonna enjoy my time before our son and our daughter get off work. Um, yeah, so all right, IG, I'm gone. I don't see no questions. Stay locked in, stay plugged in. Hopefully you got some value from this experience. And IG, y'all be easy. Peace out. Um, all right, YouTube. Hopefully y'all got some value from this. Y'all be easy. If you're not on the email list, get on there so you can be notified.